Let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. Day 2, mandatory minicamp is in the books. Coach Stefanski addressing the media at the moment. We anticipate Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco addressing the media as well. We will have Jerome Baker in studio with us live at some point here in the first hour of the program. Andrew Siciliano going to join us in the second hour of the program to get you set. It was warmer. The sun was out. Woo. It was bright. We went from – I had somebody this morning tell me we don't really have spring in Ohio. It just winter kind of peters out, and then it's summer. And I think that's probably a pretty good description of it. So it was hot out there. A lot of work got done out there. Some of the highlights that are making their ways around the social media, if you don't have access to that, obviously it looks like a long run from Quinshon Judkins that I see where he makes a heck of a move in the hole and then kind of makes a nice burst and run. It's been a good spring for Q. Really has been. But the quarterbacks are where all of the attention will be. I was talking to Gerard on my way up here, and from his vantage point, it seemed like Joe, the reps, again, for Joe were pretty minimal. And then it was Pickett and Gabriel, a bit of a slow start for both of those guys. Shedeur made some nice throws, then Gabriel kind of came along late as the practice went on. Gibby, good to see you, by the way. You having a nice first Friday?
Great.
How was that lead up last couple of minutes before the show? Those were everything smooth?
Teeing off at 5. Eye on the prize.
What would you shoot at Oakmont?
Did I read correctly? Because I haven't been around it much this week to see the World Wide Web, but did Rory shoot an 81 in a practice round?
That's what I think he birdied his last 2 to shoot 80. It's
perfect. Good.
Yeah.
I might be at 125.
I had Dave Shadalski of the Golf Digest on with me this morning, and I asked him, I'm like, do the members there have fun? And he goes, no. They don't. They don't have any fun. It's brutal. The place is an absolute brute.
So is it like that all the time?
The greens are like that all the time. The fairways are like that all the time. The rough right now has grown up to 5 inches. And so what they do there, though, which was interesting, I saw this last night, rather than just let them grow because then it would become wispy, they slowly let it grow so that it's as thick on the top as it is 2 inches in. So if it's wispy, it's like a needle. It's more narrow at the top, and it's a little easier to get out of. But instead, like the thickness at 2.5 is the same at 5, and so like when it goes in, it's gone. And it feels like I saw something from, and we will do the football, but we got off on a tangent here. I saw a line from, oh my gosh, the Australian one, Jason Day. Jason Day had a great line. He said they asked him what an 18 would shoot, and he said 140. He thought it'd be 140 because he said I could just see an 18 handicap on the first tee hitting a cut right into the rough and then not being able to advance it forwards, then it going to the other rough. And basically they would just zigzag up and down the fairway to try to get up to the green. Justin Rose said 140 as well. He thought it'd be 140.
Perfect.
He said that's as an 18. He said if you just bunted it along and like just hit wedge.
I've done that on a golf course before.
Yeah. Like maybe that's probably your best chance to score. I saw somebody yesterday on the Golf Channel putt it from 125 yards out. Putted it down the fairway, up the green from 125 at Oakmont.
Good.
It's going to be a scene, man.
Great. And we're going to actually be able to watch it all.
Yeah.
That starts tomorrow.
It does.
God.
Bright and early tee times. 7. I want to say there's a kind of a money group that goes like 7:10, 7:19, 7:26, something like that. Rory's among the guys in that, and then Scotty's at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I want to say 1:20. So that's where you go on that. You were out there.
I did. I was. G-Man and I, copious notes.
Yeah.
I thought the defense had a day. Mm-hmm. To be very honest.
They should.
The defense was, all over the place.
Gibby, we'd have a big problem. It'd be a very big problem if we didn't with what we've invested on the defensive side.
Yeah.
Be a very big problem. I see Kenny Pickett addressing the media now.
Yeah, he's on a different podium, of course.
Naturally. There you go. He was asked about the presence of having Myles Garrett. He said, quote, his presence has been felt these 2 days. I can tell you that. So that speaks to your point on the defense.
Yeah, there were a handful of plays today that were quickly gobbled up and just turf the ball, get out of the way, don't die. That was basically the gist. I can tell you, first team defensive line,
Okay.
number 95, obviously. Alex Wright on the other side. Our top draft pick, Mason Graham, and Malik Collins were our starting defensive line.
Yeah.
And
As
they
it
made
should
their
be.
presence felt.
Well, that could be a little bit of an issue because that depends on what your offensive line is. Is that an offensive line issue or is that a quarterback issue? Or are we not identifying? Or we're not getting it out? Are we not getting separation? Those are the things that you kind of need eye in the sky on that to see if there is stuff out there that's being left out on the field. But quite honestly, if our defense isn't the better of the two units at this point, then I think you got big problems. The defense should be having its way.
Yeah. I mean, the defensive line, really, really good. Defense had a day. The defensive backfield had a day. Grant Delpit with a pass knocked down. MJ was all over the place. It was pretty impressive. A really, really good job. I'm trying to think what else today. I mean, it just you said it. Like we started off red zone at about 12:02. Not the greatest for Mr. Gabriel or for Mr. Flacco, but I wouldn't put it all on them. I would say there were 2 or 3 drops. And then we went split fields. I believe. Should we take a break?
I believe Mr. Baker's walking in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to roll with it? Do it live or take a break? Your world. You're the head honcho.
Yeah, let's go take a break.
All right.
So we can adjust cameras and everything else.
All right. There you go. So
it's a well-oiled machine.
The pride of Benedictine, Mr. Jerome Baker, is going to join us coming up next. Those are your hot topics of the day, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Jerome Baker in studio with us coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Learn the game, meet future stars, and have a blast. Kick off your summer with our Youth Football Camp Series in partnership with UH and meet the 2025 Browns rookies June 16th through June 20th. Learn more at browns.com/youth football camps. And we are proud to be joined here in studio. The pride of Benedictine, Jerome Baker, in studio with us, buddy, former Buckeye as well. A vet at this point, certainly in your NFL career. What does it mean to you to come home in this way and to play for your hometown team?
Oh, it means everything. Just playing high school here, then, playing for Ohio State. I think, it's just like the icing on the cake. I get to play for the Browns. So it's like something as a kid you always dream of playing for your hometown. And I finally get to do it. One
of those things where, and I ask a lot of you guys this when you come in studio, but like, at what point did you go all the way back to high school and all that? And obviously, you're very highly regarded and goes to Ohio State and all of it. At what point did you think all of this was actually possible?
Oh, my first moment, like truly, it was probably like my sophomore year.
Okay.
My first offer was Ohio State, and then it was like, okay, that was cool. But at the time, I'm a sophomore. I'm still worrying about the rest of my high school career, and it was like Ohio State, Florida. I want to say like. It was like two big schools after. It was like back to back to back. And that was all before I got to lunch. And it was just like, all right, maybe I could play football a little bit.
When that Buckeye offer comes in, a lot comes after that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You still see that now in recruiting. Like Ohio State opens up and then.
It just comes right away. I never forget. I walked into class and it was like, you got somebody downstairs. They offered me. And then by the time I got back, it was like already 3 new schools that offered me, so it worked out.
Did I have it right that initially you committed to Florida?
Yeah, yep.
That's what I was trying to remember the recruiting process when you were walking in here, and I thought I remember that you'd committed to Florida, then you flipped back to the Bucks,
yep.
And then your NFL career obviously started in Florida, and now you're back in Ohio. A little symmetry there.
Yep. I wanted to play in SEC at the time. SEC was winning championships over and over and over again, and I'm like one of those people. You put me where the best is at, and I really get to improve myself. But it all worked out. Ohio State ended up winning the championship that year, and I ended up coming after that.
Yeah, the thing that I find, and I was talking to Wad about this a little bit yesterday off air, but like, growing up in this city, growing up in this state, you certainly were aware of what it means to wear the scarlet and gray, but you probably didn't fully realize it until you ran out on the shoe a few times. You're like, like quite literally the entire state. Their feelings rest on how we play on a Saturday.
And that is very true. When it comes to Ohio State football, in every community in Ohio, it's big. No matter who you are, young, old, whoever you are, you're watching the Buckeyes, you're rooting for the Buckeyes. And it was definitely kind of cool just to go to different parts of Ohio, and everybody said the same thing. We all love the Buckeyes, and we hope you do well. So definitely a blessing.
And I think there's a lot of parallels to what a NFL Sunday is like here. And I mean that as a compliment. And most of our guys who played in places like we got a lot of guys from LSU, a lot of those type of places. And I'm like, this is a lot like Baton Rouge. And I mean that in a compliment to our city because of how much it means here. Mm-hmm. A Browns football Sunday and the way the city shuts down for a Browns football Sunday, you can almost hear it. You can smell it like from a mile away.
Yeah.
And it's very much, I think, a college experience. And you played in some great places, obviously, with great fan bases, but it's a little different up here.
Yeah, it's nothing like Ohio. No matter where I play it at, no matter what it is, Ohio as a state, they're really, prideful about their football. And that was like the main thing of just like signing here. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm not just playing for me and what I do. If I miss a tackle, best believe my dad is going to hear about it at work. My brother's going to hear about it. So, I was aware of that, and they pretty much made sure I knew that, it's not just you going to be on that field anymore. We're all going to hold accountability, so you got to go out there and do your thing.
That's a cool thing to have that family sharing it with too, man, right?
Yeah,
like to
it's
come
the
back.
best part.
Yeah, it's such a cool part of it. So all of that stuff tracks and all that stuff makes sense and it checks boxes. But then it's got to be a fit for you from a play perspective. What is it about this defense, this Jim Schwartz defense, and the talent that's around you and how you fit in with it that made sense for you?
Yeah, I mean, just defense just kind of catered towards my skill set. Just go out there and just make plays. Shoot your gap, shoot your gun, and just go out there and do what you do. I played in a lot of defenses where I have to two-gap, and, I could do it. I was doing it for all these years. But at a certain time, you kind of miss just being able just to shoot it and just make plays. And that's just my skill set, being out in the open field, running freely, and just making plays. So I'm excited just to do that.
Yeah, you saw. You've certainly seen some of the impact that JOK has with his ability to just slice in, make plays, get into the backfield. All of those things. It's very similar to the way your game is. Yep. In terms of the conversations you had with Coach Schwartz, and really what this last month or so, and then minicamp, we're 2 days into it. How has the fit been for you?
For me, it's just been great.
Yeah.
As soon as I got here, that was the first thing they said, was just be prepared to run and just go out there and hit and make plays. And actually being here these past few weeks, that's really it. Just go out there and shoot it, do whatever you want to do. Just make the play, and that's really the cool part now. Is for a while I'm not gonna say I was held back, but it was kind of like you have to make sure certain things play off of this guy before you do this. But now it's like go out there and just do what you do. So I'm definitely excited.
Let players be players, man. What's how big of a difference having 95 up there in front as he's been the last couple of days?
It's unbelievable. They always tell you about it, before he got here, and they kind of warn you like, yo, he's far out there, but just believe he's going to get there. And even today, like he was this one play, the play was away from him, and just to see how he just runs is ridiculous. Like a guy like that, he's running hard, he does what he do. So it's definitely making my job easier for sure.
It's one of those things that even amongst the greatest athletes on the planet, he still
stands out. Yeah.
And that's something.
Yeah.
You played with some of those guys in other places you've been to, but there's something a little bit different with that dude's makeup when it comes with it.
Definitely blessed. He's blessed for sure.
How is this 2 days in? How competitive is this offense versus defense?
I'll say it's competitive, but we're still just building a foundation. So you can just see the makeup of that. Just like guys are just going out there, making sure they run to the ball, run hard, do what they're supposed to do. But as far as like competitive wise, we're getting after it. But we're all both sides. We're still vanilla in a lot of things we do. So it's competitive, but the real competitive spirit comes in training camp.
How will you got plans so you got one more practice tomorrow, and then you got a little bit of downtime here before you get back into camp. As a vet, how do you recharge? How do you refresh the mind, the body, all of it?
Simple. Just be around your family.
Yeah.
That's the main part. I think a lot of people don't realize the sacrifice our family makes, and when we go on that journey of the season. And for me, it's I'm going to miss, for the most part, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all those holidays. I'm going to miss birthdays. So for me, it's kind of like one of those things of I just want to spend as much time as I can in the summer, work as hard as I can. When that time comes, to go on training camp and take on the season, it's kind of a breeze for me.
It is awesome to have you here, buddy. It's great to have you here in studio. Welcome home. And it's cool to see you back, and that idea of a Cleveland kid like you and D Ward in that mix too. Yeah, right. Cleveland kids go to Buckeyes and then play here, so that's very cool. It's great having you here in studio, Jerome. Good to talk to you, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
All right, there he goes, linebacker Jerome Baker in studio with us live. That is presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. We'll go around the sports world. We're going to hear from our quarterbacks, also some other observations from day 2 of mandatory minicamp. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Add more fun to your fandom with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today, get 50 back in bonus bets. You place that first wager of 10 or more. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Quarterbacks. I did see Coach and his availability just as we were getting on air talk about don't pay too close of attention about who's repping with whom. I love Coach, but with all due respect, I don't believe him. Like, they do everything with a purpose. Everything is so meticulously planned out. If it didn't matter who was getting reps, you could just draw their names out of a hat and throw them in there. And it would be silly to sit here and act like it doesn't matter who's getting reps. It matters for sure who's getting reps and where they're getting the reps.
Like you said, there's a method to the madness.
Of course.
For anybody.
Yes.
You're not just throwing guys out there.
I know he doesn't want to make headlines, and so that's why he answers the way that he did. I get it. I totally understand it from his perspective, and it's probably the right thing to do. But it's also probably not what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't be a coach in the NFL if it didn't matter who got reps.
Correct.
And when they got them.
So all right. So I can go through some of this stuff.
Let's go.
Here. After
what did you see with the
position drills? I'll give you my notes, and then the G-Man
will slide over.
on over here. A little red zone
at
12:02. Dylan Gabriel. A nice draw. I will say this. The running backs had a nice little day today.
They're good. They should.
Samson's quick. The feet are ridiculously quick.
Mm-hmm.
And Judkins at times looks like he got shot out of a cannon.
Yep.
Yeah, we got a nice little B-roll here that
I like that. Looks good.
Jordan put together.
For the kids, B-roll is video over our talking.
That's right.
Or we're talking over the video.
There you go.
Voice over is what a lot of times you'll see is VO.
So Gabriel got 4 plays, didn't find their way into the end zone. Flacco then with some reps.
So Dylan got the first reps, and was he with ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Joe went with ones?
Yes.
Okay.
So ones and twos
okay.
Mixed in on this particular group. I will say this. There were 2, 3. I know we go, is it caught, is it not caught? Complete or not complete. But you also had 3 drops.
Yeah. That factors in.
Pretty sure the one guy, and I don't know what the situation was, but I'm like, I don't know if he's ever caught a ball thrown that hard from a quarterback before, because Flacco put some mustard on it. Yeah. So they both had 4 plays, and then we went into split fields.
Okay.
And on my field, I had Flacco and I had Pickett, and for the most part, with the ones and twos. A nice little touchdown from Flacco to who's number 89? Pull out your program, kids. Caden Davis, who promptly caught the ball, got both feet in, and with a truckload of steam ran right into the field goal post to the point where I was like, is he dead?
Is he all right?
Because that post is moving dramatically. Everybody was like, oh, whoa, all right. What just happened there? But he got the catch and he got the feet in, so good for him. Delpit had a nice knockdown. This was more third down red zone plays. So a little bit more movement. Pickett then came in. The defense really feasted.
Yeah.
The secondary just locked down.
Yeah.
MJ had a fantastic breakup. Really, really good. The defense looked good. Like you said, the defense should be ahead. 12-23, a little 11 on 11. And Pickett started to get going here. This is where a little 11 on 11. Pickett had some nice plays. Thresh with another catch. He had a fantastic pass to Jerry Jeudy. Might have been Pickett's best throw of the
that we've seen.
Yeah. And there were numerous people watching in the media delegation that were like, "Okay, that's
what you're waiting
that's why
for,
you went out and you got him." So a nice little play there. But again, there were a couple other plays that might as well have been coverage sacks. I mean, the defense was in on every play.
Yep.
And I mean, those defensive edges, I mentioned Wright and Miles starting off. But then you go Obo, and you go Tryon Shoyinka, and you go McGuire, and like it is just one after another out there.
Yeah.
So, so it went Pickett, it went Shador, and then it went Gabriel. Shador had a nice little session there. Nice quick passes, quick touch.
He sees it well.
Yeah,
He really does. Throws
He
a great
does.
ball. He sees it well. Yeah. No,
And
he's
then
looked
Gabriel
good. He's doing the
finished
right
up,
things.
And Gabriel recovered as well and had some nice plays. A little 7-on-7 at the end. Thrash again, thriving. But again, the 7-on-7s I can't. Okay, they happen, but there's no contact. There's no like.
There's
as
no
a
lines of
defender,
scrimmage.
you're battling uphill from the moment it starts. Deontay Johnson was more with the 2s and 3s. Didn't see him with the 1s today.
No.
I mentioned Sampson and Judkins. Tevin Jenkins, the guy who played for the Bears, offensive lineman that we took, former first-round pick. We signed to a flyer. He played tackle, but he looked great at guard when the Bears put him inside. Mm-hmm. Looked pretty good and got some first-team reps at left guard today.
Okay. So maybe he could be a kind of a swing guy who bounces around from guard to tackle.
Tillman and Woods both out there today, but not participating.
Have we got an update on Tillman in terms of just what's the deal?
I don't know. Neither one had helmets, but they were going through walkthrough. There was some walkthrough periods and some install stuff going on.
Yeah.
They were part of that, but neither one participated in anything outside of that.
Okay.
So, I mean, they didn't even really go through positions. They just went through walkthrough stuff.
Yeah.
So, again, I don't know what's going on with Tillman. He didn't practice last week in the OTA availability, and haven't seen him in the first 2 days this week. So that has to be a little concerning right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. I mean, it's the Siciliano and I were talking about that yesterday. It is as currently constructed, it's the weakest room. It just is. You just don't have a lot of NFL proven commodities in that room. Like all the rest of them are in pretty good spot. And then you got the 4-headed quarterback that you're dealing with. But in terms of like as currently constructed, that receiver room outside of Jerry Jeudy, who obviously had his breakout last year with us, there just isn't a lot proven. And it's a bet on Deontay Johnson, and we'll see. I contend if there is a room, and I imagine that this would be the case, if there is a room where you feel like you need to add another body, and not just a body, but like a guy who's in the too deep, a dude. And you're not going to get a dude because they're all
correct.
Nobody lets those guys hit the market. But just a flyer on someone with an elite skill set, this is the position I think you'd see it.
Yeah, I think that, and that just me watching.
Yeah,
we miss Elijah Moore.
Yeah,
and I think we had that, restricted free agent tag that we had put on him, or unrestricted free agent tag, and then the Bills just went all in on it.
Yeah,
and
they got it done.
So, that I think that's a tough loss for this football team, because I think I would have liked to have seen him in this offense, because it's, you're shortening the field a little bit. You're not stretching it a whole lot right now. I will say this: we have a lot of tight ends. We have a lot of tight ends. 5 or 6 tight ends, and they all made catches throughout the day. Like it was like, wait, who? Okay, that's another tight end. Oh, that's another tight end.
It feels like we're going to play a lot with 2 of them on the field, doesn't it?
Yep, I would think so. And we lined. I saw Njoku and Fannin lined up outside. So,
yeah. I mean, that's how you. So, and yesterday you said Sampson was split out wide.
Yep.
So it seems like what they're trying to do now to kind of make up for the lack of weaponry from the receiver position is to repurpose or redistribute tight end and running back into those slots to try to create some mismatches.
G-Man, what do you got? Because G-Man was on a different field.
Gibby, real quick before we get to the G-Man, you said you were on a Pickett. It was a Pickett Flacco field.
I was on Pickett Flacco.
And was the feeling
red zone?
Is the feeling you got in the red zone that did Pickett go first or did Flacco?
No, I'm sorry. It was Gabriel Flacco.
Oh, Gabriel Flacco was with you.
No, I'm sorry. I take that back. The first set of 11-on-11s was a red zone on one field.
Yeah.
They went split fields. I had Flacco. I had Pickett. Flacco took the first.
Flacco went first there.
Yep.
Okay. Because yesterday he didn't get a rep.
Correct.
So he got some reps today.
Yep.
He got some reps today. Still probably not as much as the others.
11-on-11 later on, Pickett had the first reps.
Pickett went first. Okay.
And he had the first reps in 7-on-7 at the end.
Okay. All right. That's. I mean, all these things matter.
They do.
It does. It all matters. I understand why Coach doesn't want to say it out loud, but they do. Go ahead. G-Man, welcome back. Welcome back, G-Man. How are you?
I don't have too terribly much more to add. I was on a field with Gabriel and Shador. I have their numbers from over there. I only saw a ball hit the ground 3 times.
That's good.
Pickett 3 for 3 and a touchdown, including a really nice throw to Jerry Jeudy. I think Gibbe mentioned that. That is a throw over the middle. Jeudy weaving through traffic untouched. It was a really nice play. Dylan Gabriel, one thing I will say about him, he called himself yesterday the play action king. Mm-hmm. I see it now.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of a ball wizard.
He can run the play action very efficiently, and he loves his tight ends, too. He touched on that. I mean, Brendan Bates was prevalent. Brendan Bates is a Cincinnati kid. Trey McKitty made some plays today. Blake Whiteheart made some plays today, and then obviously David made plays.
You see Dylan just to drill it down on that just for a second, and Jordan had it there was a clip that he had in the B-roll that we were playing if you're watching on the stream. Dylan Gabriel looks so cool rolling out a pocket and throwing on the run.
Yep.
Like it's got zip to it. It gets there in a hurry. It's ultra accurate. And you mentioned him liking to throw to the tight ends. Well, that's music to Kevin Stefanski's ears, and that's probably why they love him so much.
Yeah.
The play action game and the tight end.
Yeah, he had a pretty good one to throw to last year, Terrence Ferguson.
He did, yes.
At Oregon. Like Gibbs mentioned, it was Alex Wright opposite of Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, he's a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable today. There were multiple plays he just blew up. He had to pull up to not hit the guy, not hit the quarterback, not hit the running back. He was getting to the quarterback before a handoff.
Yeah,
at some points.
He's
unbelievable.
He's
unbelievable to watch.
Did you see? I don't know if it was available on. I don't know if you were able to make it out on the stream. But when I mentioned Jerome about having 95, did you see his face light up?
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's just different.
It's crazy.
He's built different.
So I watched 11-on-11 with Pickett and Shador as well. Kenny does have that athletic side to him, which I think people forget about a lot. He can scramble. He can make plays with his legs, and he was doing that. And again, I mentioned this yesterday, but I think he's tremendously accurate outside the numbers, throwing to the sideline. Quinshon Judkins, man, he's a beast.
He is.
His legs, his quads are massive.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a strong runner. He has a strong base. He can cut quickly. And then Dylan Sampson's the perfect complementary piece to that because he's got quick feet. I think he's a bit faster of a runner. Don't quote me on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think these 2 running backs that they have in the backfield, it's going to be a nice. And still got Jerome Ford, by the way, too, who also looked good today.
I think it's going to be like what Quinshon did last year at Ohio State with TreVeyon Henderson, where it's hot hand.
Keep them both fresh.
Both fresh. It helped Ohio State through a 16-game season last year having them both, and I think you're going to lose. I think you're going to lean on in various moments. I think you're going to lean on all 3 of those backs.
Yeah, and there was one handoff in 11-on-11. Shador handed it off to Pierre Strong, and Wyatt Teller was standing over by me and Andrew trying to get out of the sun, he said. And he's like, oh, he hasn't been touched yet. Oh, whoa. Wyatt Teller. Funny guy. We love him.
Yeah, he's good.
I thought Kenny had a good pocket presence in 11-on-11 as well. I had a note on one of the throws he made to Luke Floria. I had to shout out my golden flash. Stepped up in the pocket nicely, and again, it was one of those out routes. He stepped up and delivered it on a frozen rope. So he's got the arm talent. I can tell you that. That's everything that I have that Gibbs didn't say. So.
Yeah, I think you're. Look, all of this stuff matters. You got one more day tomorrow. This is going to set the table for what the fall is going to be like. Knowing this regime. Kevin Stefanski, the front office, they will have it down to a science with these reps. They will have spent a great deal of time having plans probably for all 4 that are very specific for the individual player. My hunch would be that Gabriel and Pickett have a similar plan, that Flacco and Shador would be the outliers and on the other ends of the spectrum in terms of how they're being built up here a little bit and being prepared. I do think you're going to it's clearly going to be a wide open, anyone can win quarterback competition. It's just the rate you're going at is going to be a little different with all of the guys. And all of this stuff matters. Every snap matters. Every rep you get matter. And it seems like the two young guys are coming in nicely. I'll say this about Shador. There's every single practice that we've had access to, every OTA that we've had access to, there are a couple of throws where you go, oh, well, that looks great. I mean, that's just the truth. That's what's happening. He's doing everything right, and he does a great job on the intermediate and then the really intermediate all the way through the deep ball. He can throw them all with great touch, great pace. As Z said, he layers the ball very well. And that shows up when you come out here and this fall, when you come out and you come to camp and you see him spin it, like he's a very natural thrower, very natural thrower of the football. But that job is really the job. That's the job. That's the job through OTAs. It's the job through mandatory minicamp, and obviously it'll be the job in training camp. And everything else, with, as I mentioned, I do think receiver is concerning. I think you need to add to that one way or another. And that could be via trade. There could be stuff that happens in camp. Who knows? But it does feel like you need to add to that a little bit, because in what I've seen in OTAs and then what you guys are relaying here in the copious notes, we're not quite scary enough on the perimeter.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And one more thing I want to add about the quarterbacks. Like, we talk so much about how they are on the field. Off the field, they're just as impressive. Like, you mentioned it yesterday. Dylan Gabriel carries himself like a 5-year vet.
Yeah.
Like,
he sounds like a franchise. I mean, he just sounds like it. He looked, all of that stuff. He just carries. He's just lived a very well-traveled football career. Yeah. And when we talked to him at the golf outing, we talked about this idea of like going to UCF and winning, and then going to Oklahoma and winning, and then going to Oregon and winning, and being the dude everywhere along the way. There's some muscle memory that's been built up with that, and he's got this down in terms of coming into a new situation, learning an offense quickly and applying it. Like his study skills are pretty elite, and his brain's pretty elite in terms of getting ready to go, and arm speaks for itself. Obviously there's from a size perspective, but he's been that height his whole life and he's succeeded. Yeah. And as Kevin always says, like, it never showed up on tape. And so that's part of it. But he's being asked to do things a little bit different, as Mary Kay said with us a couple of days ago, and Z and I have been talking about it for a month. He's being asked to do a little bit different things than what Shador's being asked to do right now. Yeah. So, all right, good stuff. Good copious notes there, boys. Very good.
We're doing our best. We're no Zagura, but we're trying.
No, come on. I mean, the kid's a unicorn. Well, now there's two of them. Another one bouncing around.
I know.
Little Luca.
I don't know
Thriving.
if this is good for the world or.
It's great. It's all anybody would want. Hopefully, yeah. So that's very good. All right, do you want to take a break and go around the league?
Let's go around the sports world here coming up.
Okay,
we're efforting all the audio.
We're taking a quick timeout. We're gonna work to get the quarterback audio and potentially coach as well from you. Having some technical issues dealing with that, so we'll get to that. But in the meantime, we'll go around the sports world to do that coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Add more fun to your fandom with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today. Get 50 back in bonus bets. You place that first wager of 10 or more. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Deontay Johnson, Andrew Siciliano, was here in the break and had a press conference downstairs here in the last couple of minutes. Was kind of the tone of it, paraphrasing what Andrew just was telling me in the break, was had a bad year, 5 good ones in Pittsburgh. I'm going to be good. So we need him to be.
I like that.
We need, and he
I
is
would sign up for that.
Yeah, he's definitely kind of the lottery ticket. If it hits, you know what the talent is. But that's a little bit part of it. So I did like that. Did like that approach from Deontay there in that availability that I think has just wrapped up. Toledo guy.
Yes.
Played at Toledo.
I won't hold it against him.
Yeah. I mean, statistically, it kind of speaks for itself. I mean, right out of the gate, 680, 5 touchdowns in Pittsburgh, then 923 in 2020, 7 touchdowns, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns in 21, 882, 7 touchdowns, or no touchdowns rather in 2022, then 717 that last year in Pittsburgh, and just 11 starts and 5 touchdowns. And then last year was split between Carolina, Baltimore, and Houston, 3 different stops. So just kind of got wayward there, but a great start to a career, and quite honestly, desperately needed by us if he can be somebody that you can count on the other side opposite Jerry Jeudy or operating in the slot. He's just 28. So
he's got a lot of talent.
Plenty of time.
I mean, we gave him a few highlight reels.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're working on getting some of that quarterback audio for you for a little bit later. Andrew's going to join us in the 2
peek
o'clock
behind the
hour.
curtain. There's 2 podiums.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they're both going at the same time.
Yep.
Only one of them has a live stream and a live feed that we can record directly into.
And it's not the one with the 2 quarterbacks.
There you go.
So that's where you
Why
get
that happened, I'm not really sure,
I don't know.
but that's where we are.
Yeah, so we're trying to piece together some of the comments that were made outside as we're doing the show live here. So that's what's going on. A couple of things around the NFL world. Aaron Rodgers had his introductory press conference in Pittsburgh yesterday and said that it was his soul, that it was a decision that was made, that his soul needed Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin. You love it. You're so excited. Pittsburgh Peepaw.
I gotta say this. Here's my big question.
Yeah.
And this is the most important question.
Sure.
What kind of shirt was that guy wearing on the practice field yesterday? Because it looked like a jersey shirt.
Oh, it's in
the bloody hell was that?
I think that's the cut that Roethlisberger had, which is like the looser. It's like the looser fit, and then they have the sleeves on the jersey, so you can have them like a lot of our guys, and Deshaun would have them this way, where they have like the elastic on the sleeves, and so they tuck them in underneath the shoulder pad, or you can have like the longer sleeve that like Roethlisberger wore, and I think that's what Rodgers is going for. It's kind of the floppier long sleeve.
Okay,
that came back last year in youth football. The floppier sleeve.
I
started seeing it in youth.
I don't know how you do it.
Well, we all did. We all played with the floppy sleeves.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. We didn't have we weren't uptight around the arms. 2019 or 20, we were the 4th choice to win the Super Bowl. So, like, you've had some of that where you could say, if this happens and these things happen, away we go. It was like that when you acquired Deshaun.
Sure.
Like, you get the guy, the last time he played, who's a top 5 quarterback in the league, you put that guy into a team with Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, and let's go see what that looks like. And then the suspension happened, and we were never really able to see it that first year. But that's what you hope for. And I think if you're a Steelers fan, what you probably can do is you could say, all right, pretty good run game. Offensive line isn't great, but we got a good run. We got a good run game. We just acquired DK Metcalf. We have good tight ends, and we got an elite defense. We went 10 games without this guy. So to me, for him there, it feels like if they win a playoff game, that's a successful run. He had some glowing things to say about Will Howard. So, he can bring him along as well.
Perfect.
And Andrew could correct me with this on this when he joins me in the second hour. There he is right there, grabbing a snack. But I don't recall like Jordan Love ever saying anything cross about Aaron Rodgers. It seems like he was pretty good to him. Like, you feel like if there was ill will or that he felt like he retarded his growth. I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
And maybe it was said and it was a Packer beat thing, but I feel like I would have heard it over the last few years, considering how much stuff we do around the league. So, I think from their perspective, they can wake up in October and September and say, yeah, we got a shot. And there's big time issues down in Cincinnati. They got a lot they're dealing with the Hendrickson stuff and Shamar Moore.
That's
a mess.
Snowballing.
It's a mess. You got Burrow saying it's a distraction, an oppressor.
I mean, he said
Crazy.
that about Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Not the number one pick who decided to
no, it should be
go left of center yesterday.
Well, it should be. They invested in him 2 years ago. They got Higgins and Chase redone. This should be an off season of, hey, we're different. Let's go chase it. And instead, they're dealing with nonsense. And some of it's self-created. Stewart's is self-created. I mean, there's no reason to do what they're doing on that. So that thing's a little bit. From a Pittsburgh perspective, Rodgers plays well, and away you go. So he's married too. He had that out there. It's funny. Like I feel like we've known all the women he's dated because it was with Olivia Munn. He was with Danica Patrick, and then he was with is it Shailene Woodley? I think the other actress. And I didn't even, not that I'm entitled.
I have no idea who this one is.
Yeah, I don't have any idea. He lives in the same neighborhood as Siciliano. Maybe Siciliano's seen him walking around.
Find out.
He's going to join us in 8 minutes.
At 2 o'clock. He's eating somewhere. I don't know. He walked out. There's like 7 people in here.
J.K. Dobbins signing a 1-year, $5.25 million deal with Denver. Just can't stay healthy.
Great back when healthy.
Really great back when he's healthy. Great dude, great back. Just the health part of it is not there. A couple of news and notes from college sports. Lee Corso's final headgear pick would be on August 30th in Columbus. It's Texas versus Ohio State. He made his first headgear pick in Columbus. It was the Penn State game in 1996. He did so because Herb Street's wife, Allie, is a Buckeye cheerleader, and he asked her, "Do you think you could get me that head?" And the answer was, "No, we can't. I don't think so." And then they did. And it's become a tradition ever since. I think it's one of the defining moments of college football's rise over the last 30 years into becoming the second most popular sport in this country. I think College Game Day sets the table and the tone for the day in college football unlike any other sports show on the planet. And it's amazing how timeless it is. Like my kids will sit and wait for him to put on a mascot head at the end of the show. He's picked Ohio State more than anybody else, 45 times. Alabama's second. He's picked them 38 times. So 45 for Ohio State, 38 for Alabama. They've done more Ohio State games than anything else. I'm happy to tell you I was dead wrong on this. That Saturday, Florida State hosts Alabama on ABC, ESPN, and Corso went to Florida State. So while I was aware of all of this stuff with Ohio State that I just mentioned, I assumed his last one would be at his alma mater.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's a much easier travel day for Herb Street because I'm guessing he's calling the game Saturday night between Florida State and Alabama.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, but instead, they're at Ohio State, Texas, which is a big noon kick on Fox. And I think ESPN deserves a great deal of credit here. Like, they're going to the best game every week. They're not going to the best game that's on their air. They're going to the best game every week. They were at Oregon, Ohio State last year. They're going to Ohio State, Texas this year. They're usually at Ohio State, Michigan. Like, they go to the best game whether it's on their air or not. And that takes guts in a world that's all about the money and promoting your own entities.
Yep.
And they go and do it in places that they're not broadcasting. And they deserve credit for that.
Yeah, because Big Noon, it's only, I think last year.
It's only happened once where Big Noon hasn't. There's only been one that I know of. There's only been one time where Big Noon has been live at a football environment that they were not broadcasting, and it was Colorado State 2 years ago.
When Deion came on the scene.
When they came on the scene with Shedeur and Deion and Travis Hunter, they popped on the scene, and they were there a couple of weekends in a row. They had the game the week before, but then the next weekend they were hosting Colorado State. It was actually a 10:05 kick. It drew like 8 million viewers.
It was a
great game, really good game, and they were live for that. And that's the only time that I know that Big Noon Kick has been at a game that wasn't on Fox.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so it's a good job out of ESPN to get there. My favorite my favorite Corso game day is when they give him the guns. So he gets guns when he picks Oklahoma. He gets guns when he picks Texas Tech. Usually Oklahoma State he gets guns too, but my favorite, they hand him the white shotguns from Oklahoma, and he fires those things in the air and everybody scatters.
Yep,
That's
because
one of my favorite
he's
ones.
non-discriminate where he's
No.
holding it or in the air. Watch your head.
It's going
duck.
anywhere.
You want to stay down low in that situation.
Yeah.
There wasn't a little other news today out of the NFL, by the way.
Go ahead.
Brian Thomas, Jacksonville. I don't know if you saw this today at practice.
Zagura's boy.
Came down on his shoulder hard. Practice came to a screeching halt. They did resume, but basically he landed hard on his shoulder. Fine, could have gone back out, but they immediately took him inside, and everybody was like, row.
Yeah, I'm watching him.
A little scared there today.
Just precautionary. Yeah, he actually said, Liam Cohen's in, Brian Thomas is fine. This is also interesting. There's a video where Brian Thomas says about his connection with Trevor Lawrence that it's video game-like. So,
one more thing. Sean McVay was on Good Morning Football this morning.
All right.
Not sure how many people are watching that these days, but
yeah.
he was on. And he was asked how close was Aaron Rodgers to joining the Rams. His quote was, "That was a possibility, but our first priority was to get Matt Stafford back."
Yeah, it seemed like there was a little bit of flirtation, obviously. A lot of people with Stafford, and Pittsburgh really was really interested in Stafford. And I get that from their perspective. That could have been a 2 or 3 year solution, whereas Rodgers feels like he's just a 1 year contract. I suppose he could come back for year 2. And then that is when the Rams started to see, okay, if this is the case, what else is out there? And that's how you kick the tires on Rodgers a little bit. I'm sure if hooked up to a lie detector, Aaron Rodgers say his first 2 options would have been Minnesota and Los Angeles in some order. But once those became not there, I do take him at his word. I think it's pretty easy for him to be excited about playing in Pittsburgh. I mean, other than Buffalo, it's probably the most like Green Bay location in the league. The history, the tradition, all of it. Tomlin, there's a great admiration, obviously, that he has for Tomlin and vice versa, so that works. I mean, I know that nobody around here wants to hear it. I get it, but I tend to think this is going to be just fine. And I think he'll stay upright. And I mean, they won 10 games without him.
29 touchdowns and 10 picks. Sounds like an awful good thing if you're the Squealer fans.
Yeah, you'll
sign
definitely
up for
take
that, whether you want him or not.
All right, second hour of the program, we'll get Mr. Siciliano's view of what transpired outside, among other things. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Attention Browns fans. Barking Backers, official dog fan club of the Cleveland Browns, is back for the 2025 season. Get your pup on the action with exclusive gear, events, and more. Memberships are available now. Fetch yours today or gift a membership to a furry friend at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers is presented by Milkbone in association with Embrace Pet Insurance and Pet Supplies Plus. Time now to head to the podium. It's presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package day for the ultimate game day. Here is Joe Flacco.
Joe, as we come to the
You guys are done.
feel like personally you've accomplished what you wanted to get out of this?
Yeah, for me, it's about there and just kind of getting your feel back and getting the ball off your hand well. Make sure you're going through your reads the right way. So I feel great with that. I feel like I'm getting through things and spinning it well, and the other things will come. And it's not like I've had a million reps, so it's tough to kind of get in a groove and do those things. But as far as when I'm out there, just kind of getting through everything and just the vision of it all, I felt good, felt comfortable. So
it's been fun to kind of watch Shador cutting it up with you a little bit, and the dance thing during Mike Up was really funny. But is he kind of, well, first of all, maybe reminding you of some of the kids, but also is he bringing a lightness and some laughter and fun to the whole thing?
Of course, yeah. I mean, listen, that's honestly how a lot of rooms and locker rooms are anyway. But yeah, obviously, like you can see the interactions, and it's like that in meeting rooms too. Sometimes we're laughing together. Sometimes you're chuckling because of whatever they're thinking as the young guys. But I would say I've had a smile on my face a good portion of the time I've been here this spring. So it's been a lot of fun.
So is he going to be able to get you to do that dance?
No. I don't know what dance he was talking about, but he's not getting me to do anything.
But you will post for a picture.
Yeah, that was kind of harmless. That wasn't that embarrassing. That was like mildly embarrassing. Well, whatever, And all I was doing was copying somebody else. I can do that.
Would you've been kind of load managed here in OTAs, spring ball. Is that going to continue in summer ball?
I don't know what the plan is, but exactly. But I asked Kevin and that he has a plan for all this, and that's really all I can do. Listen, I'd love to go out there and take 120 reps a day and get in the groove and do all those things. But like I said, the coaches have a plan, Kevin has a plan, and my job is to just trust that, go out there and do the best I can.
You've seen Shador now in OTAs and been here minicamp. It's been a small sample size, but what have you seen in him and Dylan's progression and growth?
Yeah, listen, I try to remember putting myself in their shoes being young, and I'll say to them, like, they're not letting things bother them. They seem to be pretty comfortable. They've been able to relax themselves, come out here and have good practices, find completions. They're mostly not forcing the ball and things like that. Maybe some of the times those completions, maybe they could have put the ball somewhere else. But I think for young quarterbacks to be able to not try to force things and sometimes just take the check down and take the low guy can show a lot of growth and can show some maturity, and I think they've both done that a little bit.
Joe, we've seen in 2023 play action. You're very good at it. Does it go back to the Kubiak year in Baltimore, or were you always?
I think even when I was even before that, when we kind of started with Cam Cameron when I was a rookie, we still had a good amount of that in our game. I think with the type of zone run game that we do in this offense, and how that's paired with the passing, with our play action game, I do think it's just good stuff, And when you get into a rhythm and you can you learn how to tempo your drop and get your eyes in the right spots, then yes, I obviously enjoy doing that.
I was talking to Kenny a little bit about you guys being sort of from the same area, spending some time in the off season, getting some guys together. You can't remember your dad as much, but can you just talk a little bit about how might that look, and who will you invite?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I haven't thought too much of it. You always get questions about what you're going to do over these 5 weeks, and honestly, I'm 40 years old. I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing the last few years. If something does happen to come together, it will be nice. The fact that a couple of us are right in that zone, and maybe we can pull some. But honestly, those things, it's more about kind of just getting together and spending time with the guys than it is throwing the ball around. It's just building rapport and getting to know guys, and that's the most important thing.
Joe, Tommy told us that sometimes your stories interrupt the meetings. They're good, but Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. I think we all have a little bit in us. Shador might throw something out there, and then I can just kind of build off of that. Who knows? But we all have stories. Yes, I can think of one time. We had a meeting at 9 o'clock, and I think we were lifting at 9:20. So we had 15 minutes and somebody started it off with, we were talking about, this wasn't even a football story. We were talking about vacations and do you actually like going on them? And I was like, sometimes, but not necessarily. And that turns into 5 stories. And the next thing you know, it's 9:17 and you're like, all right, guys, see you later. So yeah, that can happen. But throughout the course of my career, that's like, that happens on Fridays in the season. You've prepared, you're ready, you've kind of covered everything. And sometimes you tell stories for 15 minutes. It's kind of what, that's what being a teammate and getting to know these guys is all about. So it's a lot of fun to do that.
Kevin was talking about social media 24/7 news cycle and cycles. How do you see that evolve over the course of your career?
Yeah, well, I think when it initially came in, I think Twitter started right around 07, 08. I came in 08. I can remember like the first time I walked into the cafeteria in Baltimore and somebody was like, hey, you mind if we tweet this? And nobody knew what that meant. I think the evolution has kind of come from that's a method to kind of see some stuff and have some fun to like it's the main news source, So the difference now is like that everybody's getting their stuff from there and it's treated a little bit more seriously because everybody that is the main news source, but you still have the same thing you always had, which is a million different opinions. So it kind of blends like your actual news source with a bunch of other stuff. And now I think we live in this world where just like everything you see on there, there's a good portion of people that are taking whatever you see on there very seriously. And sometimes it's not the case, but you just have to, I don't know. I've been on Instagram. That's the only thing I've ever logged in on in my life. I won't download the other things because I don't miss them. If you told me you're taking Instagram away, I've been on it. I'm too far down the road, but like Twitter and all those other things, I won't even download it on my phone just because I know it's a trap to just get sucked in.
You're not going to do the dance on TikTok then? Is what you're
No TikTok dances. The fact that people, that is different too. This generation, the fact that people want to get on their phones and show people the most, that's embarrassing. You're an adult. Be an adult. It's just I can't wrap my head around that. And I get it. You have kids and you want to have fun with your kids. Have fun with your kids in private. That's what I think.
Does that make you more guarded, Joe?
I'm not guarded. I don't think I'm guarded at all. I think honestly, if you talk to me in person, I'll tell you a lot. I'll be pretty honest with you. But on social media, no chance. Just part of me. There's a piece of me at times that gosh, should I be this guy that kind of does this a little bit? I feel like in order to have a good social media, you do want to be honest and show what you do in your life. But it's just that's a job in itself.
Can you empathize with younger players who maybe don't have the same perspective that you do and the reality?
It's just different. I mean, listen, if I grew up when they did, I'd probably be. My personality is what it is. I don't think I'd be dancing on camera, but I would be more similar to them than I would probably admit.
Joe, becoming a leader, developing chemistry, is that mostly organically how that happens at this time of year? Or does someone have to say, we're going to go golfing, we're going to do this, things like that?
I think things happen organically. I think guys feel, first of all, when it comes to leadership on a football team, you have so many dominant personalities. And at the end of the day, Kevin Stefanski for the Cleveland Browns is the leader. I don't care how many leaders you have on the team that play, you have to fall in place and buy in to what the head coach is preaching. And then it's your job to kind of facilitate that as a leader, but ultimately as a player, players respect guys that show up, play well, work hard, and then everything else kind of happens organically if you're, depending on your personality and things like that. But first thing you got to do is take that field and show that you can play some ball, and then everything else kind of comes together.
Joe, this part of camp is limited to you guys, but for you, what do you think the most important thing is taking away from minicamp, heading into that break, and then looking ahead to training camp?
It's just kind of giving yourself the reminder that you can do it, get some confidence back, get some confidence heading into the off season, so that when we come back, for training camp, we feel like we're a team that can go win football games. And I think a lot of the offseason is just getting that feeling back. You know, and it doesn't matter what kind of season you had the year before. You've taken 3 months off. You've been in a weight room. You've been getting back. And every time you take that field, you got to give yourself that reminder, like, oh, yeah, this is where I want to be. And, man, I can do this. I love doing it. And to go out there against your team and to actually complete some balls and bat balls down and do all the things that everybody's doing, it just gives you that little reminder, like, okay, yeah, we look good. We're going to compete. And I think when you have that confidence going into training camp, you know, it gives you that little bit of an edge.
Just a couple more. How does it make you feel that a guy like Miles Garrett, who had such a turbulent offseason, when he sat down with Andrew Berry, one of the things that got him excited about coming back was the fact that he had a pretty good idea that you were going to be here too, and I've heard Joel say similar things. So how does that make you feel?
Yeah, well, we were just talking about relationships and teammates, and listen, it feels good to have players to feel that way about guys, and to maybe have sense that maybe you're felt like that towards a little bit too, just because like we're all trying to be good football players, and usually when you get those feelings towards guys, it means that you're working hard and doing those right things, and it always feels good for somebody to kind of pep you up and say, hey man, you did a good job today. So when you have good relationships, it's another version of that.
Joe, the way Dylan and Shador look at you, was there a guy when you came in Baltimore that was sort of that person for you?
I don't know quite the same, but like I came in with Kyle Bowler and Troy Smith, so they were kind of like competing, and you know we were kind of all in that room together. And then shortly after that, Todd Bauman came into my room, and he was probably 36 or 37 years old at the time, and he had been around the league a little bit, played in Minnesota and Green Bay, Jacksonville. I think he'd just come from Jacksonville, and Todd was awesome to me. He was kind of in Baltimore by himself. His family was back in Minnesota, and he'd take me out to dinner and go out for a drink here and there, and just an unbelievable person. And I appreciated it in the moment, but looking back also, it was it was something that kind of calmed me down. Like you had a good relationship with somebody in the room that you know you could feel comfortable around, and you felt was genuinely rooting for you to go play well. So
Joe,
last one.
During Dylan yesterday talked about asking questions and how valuable that is. Is there a specific area that most of the questions/advice focus on?
It's tough to say. It's a little bit of everything. I mean, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I mean, they were even asking me about cadence. You know, we're trying to sound the same with everybody, and a lot of these guys in today's game, like you're so used to no huddle and not even doing a cadence anymore. And listen, I was that same way. Like in college, we were in nothing but shotgun and pretty much all no huddle. But back then, you were kind of like, in these camps, you were forced. Like coaches really forced you to kind of adapt. And these days, it's kind of more of that college style. It's kind of leaked into the NFL a little bit. But you hit certain teams where you're still doing those things, and I think it's questions related to that. Calling plays, the bulk of the volume of the offense. How do you kind of manage those things and stuff like that.
What do you like better, under center or shotgun?
I think everybody likes being in shotgun, but I love being able to go under center in this league because you cannot live in the drop back world. I don't care who you are, because even the guys that are in shotgun all the time, they're doing RPOs and they're doing other things to kind of mix and match and get easy completions and things like that. If you're just living in 3-step and 5-step drops and you're letting the defensive line pin their ears back and come after you, you're going to have a tough time. So I love the fact that we can go under center and kind of marry the run and the pass. I think that's just huge. I think teams do it in different ways, and for us, it's getting under center a little bit, and I love it.
Thanks, Joe. At least they don't have to do it like
Every now and then, those stories come up. I remind them of that. My first 3 years before that CBA hit, and John ran hard camps as it was. I think he learned from Andy Reid. I told him we had 110, 120 plays scripted. We would run a 2-minute period, and it'd be like 1s, 2s, 3s, 1s, 2s, 3s. All right, twos, let's go. You get one more, and it was like, whoa! Like we just did a 45-minute, 2-minute period. And like, listen, when I'm telling the stories, of course, I embellish a little bit. I probably add a half hour to each practice, but it was different, you know. And the difference was that even when it got easier in like 2011, I think, everybody that was playing at that point had been through two-a-days at some point in their life. Guys that come in the NFL now have never done it. They've never done it. We're out there for an hour and 15 minutes, and guys think it's hard. You know, like our OTAs were over 2 hours for sure in Baltimore. You know, like when I was younger.
Pre-embellishing time?
Yeah, pre-embellishing. I'm not embellishing on that. It was legit. When in 2011 we came back from the CBA, and you could do a max of 3 hours on the field. We did a max of 3 hours. We did that 3 hours on the field. A horn blew. No stretch. A horn blew. We all ran on the field, and then the horn blew at the end of practice, and we all ran off. And it just doesn't. It's not like that anymore. I do tell the guys. I don't want to go back to that, but there is value in doing that every now and then. There just is. But there's no way we're doing it anymore.
I mean, that was a tour de force. A tour de force. The voice of your Cleveland Browns joining me here in studio.
Hey, buddy.
That's good.
He's awesome. He's becoming, and I just tweeted this, I mean, that quote about, hey, will you dance on TikTok? Basically, was the setup. He said, I don't have TikTok, but if you do have TikTok, would you dance on TikTok? And he said, the fact that people want to show people, I mean, that's embarrassing. You're an adult. Be an adult. He's becoming Larry David. Every time he's on the podium, it's a Curb episode, and I'm here for it. I love it. And awesome. He's not becoming Larry David in this anti-social, like your neighbors or Susie are going to just scream at you because you're a bad person. That's not Joe. Quite the opposite.
No.
But he is unfiltered now, and I think it's amazing.
He is. I was telling you off air. I was at Memorial a couple of weeks ago and talking to Jack Nicklaus, and Jack about 4 or 5 years ago got to the point where he just stopped caring what people thought, and he just started talking.
What
you
a
ask
beautiful
him a
place
question,
to be in,
and he just answers it. And I think that's where Joe is. And we noted this a couple of weeks ago, like when he was the last time he was on, and you listen to a press conference and you ask him a question, prepare for a direct answer, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
So he is. I will say this, like. And it's what makes this room, and you were out there and want to get your thoughts on what you saw at practice, but I think it's what makes this all so unique because he is such a tour de force. He is someone that everyone on this team looks up to. Everybody who was here 2 years ago remembers how good he was in December, and there's that part of the muscle memory too. So that's what this is all such an interesting situation we find ourselves in at quarterback. If Flacco hadn't been here and hadn't been great 2 years ago for that month, I think it would be a little bit different, but because we have that muscle memory, because we remember him all the greatness in Baltimore, and he's here and he looks good, plays good, and he's such a tour de force from a personality standpoint, just in terms of matter of fact, the way he goes about his business, it adds an element to the room.
Yeah. I mean, that is one way to say it. It is an element in the room. I went down the YouTube rabbit hole a couple of days ago. Somebody on Brown's Reddit, and for those listening, yes, I do live a little bit on Brown's Reddit, posted like a 15-minute highlight cut-up of the 2023 run down the stretch.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just like, okay.
That was awesome.
Okay. Oh, wow, I forgot that one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, okay, of course, he threaded the needle on the run to Amari Cooper, and he got down the sideline against the Bears, and that was amazing, and that was, part of the comeback there. Yeah, I got that throw, the throws in Houston. But there's so many other throws, just third and longs where he completed and you get 20 yards down the field to David, who makes a one-handed catch, and you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot all of that. And I don't know if you caught this, but Miles was asked yesterday, because I've been asked 1,000 times, like, hey, when you interviewed Miles that day when he did the podium after signing the deal, and he had that smile on his face where he said he kind of knew what the quarterback plan was. Hey, what was
it? What
was he thinking? And I told everybody that was on a Zoom, and like there were other people. I didn't have a chance to follow up. I have no idea.
Yeah,
so I have no idea what it was. Somebody asked yesterday, Miles, was Joe Flacco like that? Was it Joe Flacco that you knew was coming? And he didn't say no and he didn't say yes, but I think people there inferred that it was a yes. And then you see him on the podium again today and you're like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Totally get it.
Yeah, no, it's very, very good. All right, let's take a break. Then we're going to go through your observations from camp.
Let's do it.
We also have Kenny Pickett audio that we want to play as well. Do we have it, Gibby? We do? We're work efforting?
I have Kenny Pickett if you
There
want.
go. Yeah, all right. So we're going to take a timeout. We're going to get Mr. Siciliano's views of practice, and then we'll have Kenny a little bit later in the program. That's the plan going forward. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns. All right, welcome back in. Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Bo Bishop, Andrew Siciliano with you here. All right, we emptied out their copious notebooks from the G-Man and Gibby. Obviously, it's all about quarterbacks. That's
the
talk.
quarterbacks.
Yeah, those guys. What did you make of what you saw?
I didn't see a lot of Joe Flacco today, obviously.
More than yesterday.
A little more than yesterday. Saw him in the red zone a little bit as well. Red zone not great for Kenny Pickett. But listen, I think when people say, oh, they're working with the ones, they're working with the twos, they're working with the threes, people got to realize it is a mishmash out there. It's not, oh, he's working with the ones. Here's Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku. Here's all of the ones. It is a mix and match situation there. Picking in the red zone, not great. Dylan Gabriel had a nice ball to the back of the end zone. He ripped one that I thought was really good. Guy got his feet down. There was a ball to Caden Davis, I believe, from Flacco, where Davis ran through the back of the end zone, the former Charger wide receiver who was here late in the year last year and ran directly in to the stanchion. Hopefully he is okay. He got back up. Shedeur Sanders in a 2-minute in a hurry up. Moved the ball down the field. So did Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel, near the end of practice, they had a 2-minute situation here for both of the young quarterbacks. And Gabriel hit a couple of nice balls to tight ends, one of them to Trey McKitty, another one to Brendan Bates. So Dylan Gabriel had his moments today, certainly. In that 2-minute drive, Pickett hit one to Jerry Jeudy on a crosser as well, where he got down the sideline. So he had a good moment in that situation as well. I don't know that there's a screaming quarterback headline from today. I really don't. I know, by the way, that you'll probably read articles tomorrow that focus on Pickett's bad series in the red zone. There was a drop in there as well by Njoku, maybe not the best ball placement in the flat. So there's a lot to unpack. I don't know that any of the one quarterbacks truly stood out today.
Yeah, and so to me, the one thing that I said, and it was just pushing back to our head coach, who I enjoy a great deal, but I do think all of this matters. And I think the notion that don't pay attention who's with the ones or the twos, no, there are choices that are being made. Everything that this front office and coaching staff does is calculated, and it's done for a reason. They're not haphazard with anything. And so the notion of like, oh, yeah, we're just throwing them out there. I mean, that's not what's happening. There is a reason for it. As you mentioned, very little from Joe, and Joe talked about that in the right off the top of the piece that we aired, where he said, look, I'd like to have gotten more. But the reality is they don't need to see more out of him. They need to see if one of these three young guys can be the future quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, not just this year future, but maybe for a couple of years future, or even longer, God willing.
Yeah, and I know it sounds – I said this yesterday. Training camp and the 3 preseason games will matter.
Yes.
The most. Look, I know that you're going to see Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders for that matter, but let's take Dylan Gabriel, for example. In a preseason game in which you roll him out, he's got a clear lane of vision, he hits a second-level throw, and bam, 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 they're in the red zone, they're putting points on the board, and people go, okay, wow, I see that guy. I know you're going to have those moments, and I guarantee you're going to have moments like that for Shedeur as well. Luke Flourier is going to have like a 3-touchdown game against Carolina, and it's going to be the best story in town. It's how many of those moments can they stack. And you and I talked about this again yesterday. I don't remember the last time we had a legit competition like this where the results actually do matter. Like, you have people out there running around going, wait a minute, I had him 0 for 2 over here. No, he was 1 for 2. Wait, I had him 6 for 8 on that far field. I don't know that those numbers really do matter. It's how many good moments can you string together out there? And if you throw, hey, there's a good ball, and there's a good ball, and there's a good decision, but maybe it didn't result in a catch or positive yardage, I think that's what the coaches are looking at first and foremost.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's nuanced. But you know it when you see it.
Yes.
And that's kind of, I think, where we're at. You would have a better handle on this. How open was the 49ers, Purdy, Lance, Garoppolo mix? How open was that?
I mean, they wanted to give it to Trey Lance.
Right.
And Brock Purdy.
Just won it.
Well, not only did he win it, Lance looked bad. It was two sides to it. Purdy clearly won it, but there was no wiggle room for them to go, well, but we're going to give it to Trey Lance anyway just because of where he took him. Like, it's going to be a slanted playing field, and we're going to give it to him. He couldn't take it, and Brock Purdy clearly could.
And I'm trying to remember, because wasn't Garoppolo like on another field at that time?
I can't remember
was that like
if
when all
Jimmy
that was going on?
Coming back from an injury there, or if he was... Maybe they had just put him in bubble wrap because they were going to move on.
Yeah.
And they kept him off on the other field. Yeah, that sounds
just
right, but honestly,
remember,
I'm forgetting.
Because there just aren't many instances of this where you have a true wide open 4 guys situation, and it's weighted. I mean, to the point to where, Joe's saying I'd like to get more reps, but the reality is we don't need to see him do anything.
Joe also said a couple of weeks ago that he realizes he probably needs the fewest reps of everybody. So both can be true.
Absolutely.
You realize you need the fewest, but hey, you're a competitor, as he said. You want to be out there slinging it. You'd rather be a participant at practice rather than an observer. It's going to be a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right? The guy that looks the best in week 1, chances are, as luck will have it, is probably in the preseason not going to be the guy that looks the best in week 2. I think the joint practices will be huge. Huge.
I think the practices leading up to the joint practices are going to be just as huge from the standpoint of deciding who gets to have those reps.
Yeah. That's fair.
Who's going to take those reps? Because and by that point, and this is, I think Kevin's coming in with us tomorrow. I think that's and he's not going to give me a timeline. I've interviewed him enough to know that I'm not going to get a direct answer on it. But I think the way I'll phrase it is, in your mind's eye, do you have a date where you have to have this narrowed? And he's got to. And I'm sure he won't divulge it, but like, you can't be doing this for long in camp. You can do it a little bit, and then you got to. This isn't college football where you've got 100 practices and 3-hour practice. It's not that. It's a tight window, and there's finite amount of time, and you got a lot of work you got to get done in a hurry, and you got a bunch of new faces, and you're installing kind of a new offense that's different from what you ran last year. So there's a lot that's got to get done in a short amount of time.
I think you want to know before the final preseason game. Whether you announce it is another question, but I also think it matters who's the guy. Like, if it's going to be one of the two rookies, you want to figure that out before
I agree.
That final week, because you don't want to just toss the kid the keys in the week after, like Labor Day weekend. By the way, you're going to be the starter. That's not good for anybody.
No.
Now, what would be great is if it's actually a difficult decision between one of those two kids. At that point, yeah, and then maybe you do drag it out because they're both still fighting and there's both still there's value there for both.
I'll give you. We got about a minute left. Non-quarterback. What caught your attention?
I think both running backs move really, really well. I think Carson Schlesinger is going to contribute immediately. And listen, we talked to Deontay Johnson afterwards. I don't know if we're going to play that. He was a little defiant. I was defiant. He wanted to move forward, not look back, which I think from a mental health perspective is fantastic. At the same time, people want to ask, hey, what happened in Baltimore? Did you really quit? Why did you have 3 teams give up on you last year and another team seemingly fight your professional advancement by squatting on your rights and not letting you leave out of spite?
Yep.
Right? He didn't want to go there. But look, if he's good and he's right, both in this building and on the field, he's a legit weapon. Like a legit weapon. When he was having a good year before it fell apart in Carolina. A very good year. He said Kenny Pickett was one of the factors in coming here, and he also conceded the Browns were the only team that called.
Maybe it can be a marriage that works for everybody. We'll see. Speaking of Kenny Pickett, you will hear from him coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. The countdown is on. Browns football will be here before you know it. Lock in your spot now as a Browns season ticket member and score the lowest prices with no deposit needed. Buy online. Check out your view for every epic matchup of the 2025 home slate. Visit browns.com/tickets now. And we head back to the podium presented by Vivid Seats. Here is Kenny Pickett.
You're done.
An update. Last time we talked to you, you feel more comfortable. What's your state of being?
Yeah, I do. I think the more reps you get in a new system, you just feel better. Some of these things are new to me, new to a lot of the guys here, so having an opportunity to physically rep it definitely helps.
Kenny, at the Steelers, your 2 years there, did you do much play faking?
We were not much play action now.
Is that a challenge or is it easy peasy for you?
I think it's just something that like kind of you rep it, you get a lot better at. I feel like it's come pretty easily so far in this camp and the minicamp and OTAs. I feel like really comfortable going through the play action footwork and the fakes and getting to where I need to be on time. So
at Pitt, did you do more?
Yeah, a little bit. We were more gunning in Pitt, so not as much under center play action.
I mean, Kevin and a lot of people have talked about the diversity of experience in the quarterback room and how that has given you all a high level of conversation. Can you give us an example of a conversation you've had that you feel like reflects how you see each way in?
Yeah, I think if we have a concept that may be new to me, and I asked Joe about it, and he's had it in the past, that's kind of where the conversation starts. Just getting another opinion on how he's read it in the past and footwork, stuff like that. So that's just one example, but there's plenty of them. We're in the film room, and some guy has a question. Usually everybody kind of gives their 2 cents, and we all talk about it.
What's an example of a time that the rookies asked you a question and how much you answered it?
Probably just going through a read in footwork. Me and Shador talk about that a lot. Whether you're taking 3, 5, 7 from under center. There's different footworks for each play. And I think, more of the under center stuff, I'd say the college guys have more questions about. It's just something new that they haven't done. So hopefully I can give them some good insight, on things that I do, things that Joe does to help them out.
Kenny, as we come to the end of the spring, do you feel like you've accomplished most of what you wanted to?
Yeah, I think, coming in, learning the system, getting to meet my teammates and building that bond, and just working every day. You have to take it a day at a time. We're installing new things every day, so you may get that play that you haven't run one time. You got to take advantage of it. So I think it's gone really well so far.
How much of building that bond is organic, and how much you as a quarterback further chemistry and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's always organic. I think in football, everyone we're all doing the same thing. We're all on the same mission. This is a great locker room to be in. So just being able to hang out with guys outside of football, outside of the field. Whether it's on the golf course, in the cafeteria, getting a bite to eat, whatever it may be. I think it's always a good time to get to know your teammates.
How much does it help to have Myles Garrett to look out there and see that he's there and know that if you can get past him, you can pretty much...
Yeah, his presence has been felt in 2 days, I can tell you that. Obviously playing against him, I understood that coming into it, but I had a scramble today and I was running down the right side. He was chasing me down like 25, 30 yards down the field. So, his effort and what he brings to the table, we all know. So it's great to have him here.
In your 2 years at Pittsburgh Steelers, you had 6 fourth quarters come back attributed to you. How do you account for that?
I'd just say preparation, and it's the ultimate team game. So, you need all other 10 guys on the field to do their job as well. So I've been a part of great teams. I've had great teammates that, when it comes down to it, the work that we put in, I trust that they're going to be where I need them to be. They know that I'm prepared and I'm going to get the ball where it needs to be. So it's a complete team game, and that's we started the 2-minute stuff today, and I thought it went really well. So it was a good start for that.
So everyone talked about developing the bond, with teammates and everything. Obviously, in a week or so, you guys are going to break for kind of the off season. How do you continue that and build off of that while you're kind of away from here? During that period.
Yeah, hopefully there's times where we can get together maybe once in this next 5 weeks, wherever that may be, to get a couple throwing sessions in, hang out, like I said, go golf and just be around each other for a weekend. Could definitely just help continue to build those bonds during that off time.
Kenny, when you were with the Steelers yesterday, you mentioned just about the camaraderie, being around you, being around Joe, being around Deshaun, and just the room that you guys have built, also at the same time. You're competing for one job right now.
Yep.
Just from your perspective, what's it like? What's that dynamic like? Where you're trying to help out the kids, but also at the same time you're trying to compete for a job.
I don't think, like I said the first time, we kind of talked about it. It's just such a natural thing that happens in all the quarterback rooms that I've been in. You just become, you're around each other for so many hours. You become friends. You're always joking about stuff. Like, you become really good friends, and you're working and competing at the same time. So it's been a natural progression in every room I've been in, and this one's doing, the exact same thing.
Yeah, we were asked about Miles Garrett here at practice, but I want to ask you about preparing for him when you were with the Steelers. What was that preparation like?
Yeah, you're going to get four hands on him at all times, especially third downs. You're sliding, you're chipping, you're putting two men on him. And that just affects everything in the pass game because that takes out an underneath route where guys can start dropping underneath second level, third level throws. So he's truly a game record player, in terms of a game plan. So you always have to, know where 95 is and have a plan for him.
Kevin was talking about social media being like an outside noise amplifier. I know you guys try not to pay attention. I'm asking, like, your friends and family, though, like, how do you have to ever try to, like, say, hey, guys, like, that stuff doesn't really matter? Like, what are those conversations?
Yeah, luckily, going into my fourth year in the league and playing college football, I think everyone's pretty used to it by now, which is a really good thing. So, no one really talks about it, which is great. When I'm home and relaxing, and I just want to spend time with my family, and work is work. So
how can you empathize? I mean, like, you are part of the generation that, like, grew up without a phone, without social media, all that stuff. Some of these younger guys, it's been a part of their whole life.
Right.
So how can you empathize with them as they try to navigate the world? That's their real world sometimes.
Yeah, which is a shame. It's a shame. It should never be considered the real world, what you see online and stuff. So hopefully nobody, buys into that. But I think the guys are handling it well. I never even thought about that. That's pretty true. I don't think it started coming around until I was like 13, 14. So, yeah, it's different world growing up in the social media. I think these guys handle it really well.
Kenny, have you had an opportunity to spend a little bit of time so far here with Deontay, knowing him the way that you do? And if so, do you think that maybe you can be a little instrumental in making sure that he kind of acclimates well to the team? Obviously, last year he had some ups and downs. And what can your role be in kind of helping him?
Yeah, just help him any way I can. I was talking to him a lot today in the field, in the 2-minute period, going through the play calls with him, where he would be if he was at Z or X or F, and kind of, talking him through each play. So he's working really hard at it. It's great to have him here. And, I know that he's going to continue to do that.
You were in Philly last year, but from a distance were you like, what the heck's going on with him? You were in Philly last year when he was traded and waived twice in the same season.
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't really know what was going on. I try to stay off everything during the season. But, listen, I'm really happy that he's here. I think he could really help us. The things that he can do with his route running and ability. So it's good to have him here.
When he's at his best, what can he bring to the table for you guys?
One-on-one, he gets separation. I think he does a really good job of getting separation at the line, at the top of his routes. In and out of cuts, I think, is probably his biggest strength. He gets in and out really well. So a lot of those third down, possession down, route running, which you need to be precise at, I think he can bring that.
Just a couple more. The way Kevin splits you guys up on the field so everyone can get an equal amount of reps, just how helpful has that been, when you're dealing with a four-man rotation here, so that, you're able to maximize your time and you're not having to wait your turn in line? Yeah,
it's big. It's big. The more reps you get, the more comfortable you be. Unfortunately, in a situation like this, you may only get one play one time in the entire camp. So you got to try to maximize as much as you can. Whether it goes good or bad, you can always learn from it, which is great. But as many reps as you can get, it's extremely valuable at this point, especially being on a new team with new guys.
Kenny, what have you heard about Kevin as a developer of quarterbacks, and has what you heard kind of matched up to your experience?
Yeah, no, to a T. Everything I expected coming into it, he's probably exceeded that. Just the knowledge of his system that he's been in for a long time and how he understands quarterback play and what it's like to be back there, and kind of the clock that we're on and what we have to do. To be successful. So it's been awesome, and he sits in every quarterback meeting, and he's part of all those conversations that we mentioned earlier. So it's been awesome.
We're not going to see you now until the start of training camp, or talk to you until the start of training camp. So I know you've worked out some with Jerry Jeudy, often on your own. What kind of are your plans? And do you guys maybe as an offense have some plans to try to get all together somewhere?
Yeah, I've talked to Jerry and Thrash about it, actually. And Joe's in New Jersey, and I'll be back in New Jersey as well. So hopefully we can work something out. We can get 2 or 3 days in the middle of the break to continue to build that timing and hang out off the field before we get ready to go into a big season.
Deontay, his run after catch ability, how do you balance and kind of let him cook with, and then you have a first down, why'd you run backwards there?
I mean, yeah, that's probably a Deontay question. Sure. But yeah, my job is to get the ball in his hands, and he's going to go try and get as many yards as he can after.
How do you feel about the notion of the fact that you are kind of having to make sure that what is in the offense is going to work for you guys, and what shouldn't be there isn't going to be there, and a lot of that I think is kind of falling on you at this point. How's that going while you're also trying to look great and win the job? Yeah,
like there's a conversation we had, like, it's kind of trial and error. We may try one play, and if we don't love it, it gets thrown out for the season. So that kind of goes into that. You only get one play once. If you hit it, it's great. It stays. If it doesn't look great, it may be out. So it's kind of a trial process for some new plays. That's what this time is for. This time is not to be perfect. It's to try new things, test timing with teammates, and push yourself. So I think, it's gone well so far.
Hard to believe. Just one more, buddy. Tomorrow, and then we break for summer, and then we're back.
The rookies are in the building next week, but not on the field.
Look at you.
See?
There you go.
They're in the building.
But yeah,
this is it. Tomorrow's the last day, and then school's out for summer.
Yeah, and it'll be fun to see one more day of this and see how it all goes. And we'll be back here tomorrow to break it all down. I think Coach is going to join us here in studio.
Amazing.
So we have that to look forward to, which is nice. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.